Welcome back to the Cheeky Crypto Podcast with your hosts, Mike, JB, Chris, and Nick. Many thanks for listening in, liking, and subscribing. If you haven't done so, do us a favor and smash that like and subscribe button and turn on all notifications. We really do appreciate it. If you haven't joined the Discord or Patreon, link is in the description down below. A fantastic community talking crypto 24/7. Guarantee you won't be disappointed. And most importantly, it's absolutely free to join. Now, let's get into some crypto talk. JB, how you doing today?
Good afternoon, guys. Really good day, nice and busy. Very happy to be back on here again. I really enjoyed the last one. We got some really good feedback. You guys were very kind to us, so be kind again. Hit that like button. I wanted to say that, so yeah, hit that like button. We need to get some likes in here. How are you doing, Chris? Are you good?
Yeah, really good. Thanks. Just another really busy day in the world of crypto. In and out of meetings all day, spinning those plates, loads and loads of really juicy, cool stuff about to come. December is going to be something else. Like if you've been watching for a while, December is going to be a cracking month. It really is. So excited about some of the stuff that we're working on. We've got the physical clothing range that we're working on, lots of stuff happening in the Discord and with Patreon, and yeah, we've got the Christmas meetups, right? So one in Milton Keynes and one in Manchester. So there's nothing more that Nick and myself like to do than to actually meet the community in person. So really looking forward to that. We might even bring out the crypto Christmas jumpers just for a laugh. But what about you, Nick?
Yeah, I'm not going to be wearing a Christmas jumper.
Yeah, you are. I'm going to make you.
Yeah, good luck with that. It's been busy, right? Markets are doing some interesting things, which actually, maybe I'll jump into that in a moment or two and see what's going on there. But it's been busy in regards to trying to make sure that we've got a finger on the pulse of crypto, right? And making sure that we're aware of kind of the movements of Bitcoin and the altcoins and what's going on there. So yeah, it's been a good month so far. But as you say, December's going to be epic. There's a lot of things that we're going to be launching. There's going to be a lot of events happening. It's going to be good.
Yeah, there's a lot going on overall in the crypto space, and then obviously overall in Cheeky Crypto as a whole, the Discord, everything. Discord's continuing to blow up, which is kudos to both of you. Kudos to Nick. Got to give Nick a little shout out for calling, I think, 22 new lower lows at this point. I think Nick has been predicting this for quite some time, and these guys don't get the credit they deserve, and they really do, because everybody was saying, "Oh, the bottom is in." The bottom's five additional times. But yeah, shout out to the community. We had tons of comments, tons of feedback. I finally got some shout outs, which I felt pretty good about. I was like, "Oh man, I got a little love for once." So I appreciate all the kind words. Definitely smash that like button for sure. But yeah, Nick, do you want to take us through just a quick overall, about the market, just kind of where Bitcoin is right now? And
yeah, sure. Let me just find the right screen. I've got enough of them here. Let's bring this up. All right. So what we've got here, we've got a market cap currently at $834 billion. Trading volume in the last 24 hours being 56 billion. It is decreasing, right? Not many people are actually getting active in crypto. They're kind of being conservative and kind of looking after their capital, which is the main message here. So lower volume in trading, which is kind of to be expected. I don't really like these metrics here. Bitcoin dominance and the Ethereum dominance is subject to platform, obviously. So 38.2% for Bitcoin and 17.6% for Ethereum, but take that with a pinch of salt, depending on where you get your data from. That changes. 21,850. I want to say shitcoins. There's a few good ones in there, right? So yeah, there's a reasonable amount of projects in there, and you make sure you do your own research. We don't say it enough, but unfortunately, there are people who just want to party with your own hard-earned money, and we have seen a few rug pulls recently. So make sure you do your own research. Don't just blindly follow what people are telling you. When we take a look at Bitcoin, we can see, we've got some pretty interesting kind of structures that are going on. We spoke about these this morning during the Twitch live stream. Essentially, it is a complex 5-wave structural move to the upside, but I don't think it's actually a positive one. We aren't thinking that we're going to be moving up in a really big way. Essentially, I think what's going on here with Bitcoin is that it's actually the end of a running flat correction, right? And it's quite a complex one on the internal counts. So we have kind of like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 structure coming in here. And then there's 5 waves in the overextended wave 5 just in there as well, right? So it get quite complex when we really drill down into those levels. But essentially, I don't think it's anything more than a running flat correction that actually starts over here. As initially we had this high point. If I actually go ahead and remove that one off there for a second, you can see that this is actually more like this, where we go up into a single A wave, down into a B wave, and then up here into a C wave, falling short of the original A wave. So basically a running flat correction. 335 is kind of what I think is going on there. So I'm actually expecting reversal soon. And again, we get some warning signs on the stochastic. Specifically, if we go up into our daily time frame here, you can see that we're up in the overbought area now. So you can see that we're reaching kind of an area where people just are not willing to, well, this whole entire journey to the upside, people haven't really been wanting to buy into Bitcoin. So there's stronger momentum to the downside than there is to the upside, which is why we moved from oversold to overbought so quickly. So yeah, for the most part, if I jump through all of these timeframes, the 20 hours overbought, the 16 hours overbought, the 12 hours overbought, the 8 hours overbought, the 4 hour is actually just coming down just a little bit recently out of the overbought area. It's only the hourly that actually has any kind of progression to it. We are resting on and finding support on the 200 EMA at the moment, but this is all going to be short-lived in my opinion. I think there's a little bit of a move to the upside, but essentially I think the macro direction here is that we are going to be pulling to the downside. So yeah, that's a bit of a brief market update. Well, obviously we talk about it all the time anyway, but essentially, yeah, I do think there's another lower low coming.
The way you say that.
I do. So yeah.
Yeah, I for those that are just listening in for the first time, I'm sure a lot of that sounded French to you. Okay. And if you're just new to crypto, what's beautiful is down in the Discord, there's actually a new course that's coming out that Sir Nick has developed and come up with. And it's really will help you so much, right? There's a lot of terminology in crypto that, and in trading in general, that it took me a while. I don't know, JB, did it take you a while to kind of understand?
On a macro scale, I'm not saying it's easy because it's certainly not, but I've got an understanding of the macro scale. When you bring it down into the smaller time frames, you've got your expanding flats and everything else. That takes time. But there's one person who maybe qualify more than me to talk about, and it's Chris. How are you finding the course?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sort of testing it in the background, and I think I'm now as far as the 5th part of the course. So I'm not that far into it just yet. And I have trouble with being able to get the time to concentrate on it because I'm constantly being interrupted all the time. So I'm struggling with the concentration side of things. But yeah, it's a really, really good course. Obviously, I've been giving Nick some feedback on some additional stuff that perhaps needs to be added, because obviously Nick does it all the time, right? And I guess you can forgive him for not realizing some of the gaps for people that haven't done it before. So I think, you know, we want to do this process first, get it all into a really, really good position. So when people do the course, like they can sort of literally just run through it and get it first time. Obviously, it's going to be a free course for members. Do you want to talk through that a little bit, Nick?
Yeah, sure. So we're going to be having limited spaces because we don't just want to have a course that's online, people watch a bunch of videos, and then there's no support afterwards, right? Like the point of this is that people can learn it and they can learn to fish, essentially, right? So it's going to be limited spots so that we can offer that support during the course experience. So I'm not sure what numbers we've agreed on, Chris, but I think 50 rings a bell, like 50 people to start with. And then we'll expand it if, you know, we need to, depending on how people get on with the course material. But it is a 20-part course. So Chris is on pay at part 5 out of 20. So there's a few stages to it. And there are things that I just didn't cover because, to be honest with you, they're really specialist within Elliott Wave theory, and you can learn these once you've learned the basics. So I think this course is the basics to Elliott Wave theory, covers a lot, obviously, in 20 parts. But there are more complex things that I've omitted for probably a later date with this one. So I'm actually on part 15 on my final cuts and my final edits on it. So I've got 5 more parts to go through, a couple of things I do need to re-record and work on. So then, of course, we've got to build the website to deliver it as well. So there's a week or so's work in there before we actually get it across the line. But yeah, it's going to be an exciting time to get as many students on this one as possible, so that they can make sense of my French when I'm talking we're talking charts. Yeah.
I mean, it does sound French. You know, when I first started watching you guys back in the day, I would try to watch the video and I'd be like, I would have to go to Google and be like, okay, what does this mean? What is Elliott wave theory? What are trend lines? So maybe we do a podcast, Chris, JB, Nick, maybe we do a podcast and cover just basic terms in crypto. Like there could be something that maybe we could touch on. Just like today. Today, we're going to touch on portfolios. This is a topic that's been brought up quite a bit in the Discord. People asking, you know, Chris, what's your portfolio look like? Obviously, Chris does a portfolio builder over on the YouTube channel. But it'd be good just to kind of run through kind of how all of us potentially structure our portfolios. You know, we're gearing up right here, getting close to the end of the bear market where we're going to start buying and then setting up for the bull run. So be good for everyone to kind of just go through your portfolio, kind of how you see structuring it. You can talk about percentage if you want. Doesn't matter. Just talk about how you kind of will start that. And Chris, we're going to start with you.
Yeah. Okay. So I think there's a few ways that I look at building a crypto portfolio, and I think one of those is, you know, probably what seems to be the simplest when you start, and that is, okay, how many projects or altcoins or cryptocurrency projects, whichever terminology, you know, suits you, should I have in my portfolio? And it seems really, really simple until you start investing and you start reading up on all these wonderful projects. And I think I've covered over 250 now in the Discord for Patreon members. So there's an awful lot of projects that I look at, and some of them just seem very, very juicy. So my figure is kind of 10, but I kind of sit between 12 and 15, just because I look at all these projects and some of them just seem really, really wonderful. And I'm all about making sure I have a good, diverse sort of portfolio as well. So I tried to split it into like blue chip, which is like your really prominent, ultra safe, gonna be here for the long haul projects, you know, likes of, you know, well, I guess most people would say Bitcoin, Ethereum, you know, others would now say ADA would be part of that blue chip, you know, group of projects, just to list a few. Then I'd have like my medium risk and then my high risk. And what I mean by high risk is, you know, maybe there isn't a lot of money in them right now. They're really at an early, like, infant stage. But actually the upside is really, really high. So, you know, your high risk, high reward sort of plays. I like to have some of those in my portfolio. And then my low cap. So, you know, one that I would look at the moment would be like Singularity DAO. I think it's a really solid project for a low cap, and I have to have that in my portfolio. I just think the upside is immense. And I also structure it by looking at the different sectors within crypto as well. So I think there's many layers to it, right? Like, and you can change your mind with these projects. I think, like, for the portfolio builder that I do on the main YouTube channel, the Cheeky Crypto, I had Solana as one of the projects in there, and I sold it way before all this FTX stuff, just because I started to see things not really improve. So I pulled out and sold at a tiny loss. And sometimes it's good to make those decisions. I think, you know, hindsight, looking back, that was a really good play. If I wanted to get back into Solana, I could get a whole load more of it now. Not that I'm planning to, but yeah, look, you know, what sectors do you think are going to do really well in the next bull cycle? You know, for example, we're quite heavy in layer ones. I think layer twos are going to do really well. I'd like to have some exposure to oracles, you know, like Chainlink, for example. Payments as a sector, artificial intelligence and machine learning, and storage, you know, metaverse. There's a few different sectors, and maybe those are a few different podcasts in themselves, right? And guilty of leaving off the cybersecurity one as well, because I do like that sector.
Yeah, I have a feeling though. Mine's going to sound very similar to what you just said, and I bet if we get to Nick next, I would assume mine probably is going to sound both of y'all. So I'm not sure if I'll go through mine, but eventually I will. JB, how do you structure your portfolio? What are some things that you look at when you're putting together at the bottom of a bear market?
I mean, right now, I think I'm only about 10% invested to where I want to be. So ADA is about 40% of my investment right now. That's what I'm holding the most of. I did tell you in the last podcast that ADA was going to be my biggest bag, and it certainly is at 40%. XRP, I'm sitting around 20% for the obvious reason that XRP is going to do well. We all know that.
Right.
And then Singularity, again, as per the last podcast, I'm 10% equal in both of those, as I am with VeChain and Pandora. So I'm only 6 projects invested in right now. And I also have another one which I know is going to turn a lot of faces up, and that's Luna Classic.
Oh.
No, I know that's obviously
there's nothing wrong with that.
No, I'm not investing in the project. I do not believe in it at all. It's a piece of proverbial. But there's going to be gains there. It's community driven. As we know it's community driven, there's going to be things happen there. So I've got some money in there purely for the fact I'm making money. However, I will add, I bought into Luna Classic, I think it was the 6th of June. And then I sold on the last run it had. And the money I initially put in, I've still left in. So I've took out the profits. I've made profit on it. So whatever is left in there, I'm prepared to lose if it turns to nothing, which it probably will. But if it makes money, it's money I didn't have before. It's money in a project I didn't believe in. So I'm more than happy to take that risk. I've already got back what I initially put in. So I'm happy with that. Now, obviously, we've got Cornucopias. I need some Copy. Copy is going to be huge. If nobody knows anything about Copy, you're bound to. But if you don't know about Copy, you need to start looking into it. Cheeky crypto. We've got a nice thing going with Copy. I'm sure Nick and Chris will talk about that when the time's right. Midnight. We all know Midnight is going to be good. So obviously I've got 10% of my portfolio right now is in Pandora. However, as things progress, possibly Pandora reduces down and Midnight gets a better holding. As I said, only 10% of my capital right now is in my portfolio because I do believe we're going to see a lot more pain. Again, as per the last podcast, I do think we're going to go down a hell of a long way more. Matic as well. Matic's in a funny position because it's really high. And I think we all expect Matic to have the big drop. Nick's touched on it quite a lot. That we can all see Matic to go to a very low point, and I will happily invest a nice little fund in Matic because I do think that will do well. And also, after Chris's talk 2 days ago about Chainlink, I need to start looking at oracles.
Yeah, I think Chainlink's going to be big. I mean, all the projects you just named, Nick, I'm going to go before you because I think I should just go. So mine's a little, I think I'm a little more on the riskier side of things when it comes to portfolios. Any of these projects that Chris and Nick decide to bring out to us that they feel really good about, and then I do a little digging into and I feel good about them, I dump a lot of money into them. And sometimes that's a problem. So you're going to have risky guys like myself where I would say 25% of my portfolio are huge risky plays, right? Like I'm swinging for the fences type deal. Okay. Now the top half of my portfolio obviously would be like Cardano, VeChain, Chainlink, Polygon, XRP. Those will probably be, Cardano will probably be the highest by 30%. Based off the conversation that we had the other day on Chainlink, I'm back and forth on Chainlink and VeChain, kind of hovering around there. Same thing with XRP. So I'm kind of in that sort of, I'm not sure, like all of those may get like 15% each type deal. I'm bad at percentages, right? I look at the amount of coins I think I want to hold going into the bull market, and whatever that costs me, it costs me. So say I want 30,000 Cardano, right? I want to try to get it at the lowest I can. Then I can take whatever money is from there and I just put it into the next project. So it's really hard for me to discuss percentages because I don't know. I just look at, I'm kind of looking at, I look at my portfolio like, well, I want 100,000 coins of that, or I want 1,000,000 coins of that. That's just how my brain resonates. And everybody's laughing right now. And that's just how my brain works. I don't know. JB, you had something?
Yeah. What I will notice straight off the cuff is nobody has mentioned Ethereum. We know why. We definitely
Nobody
know
wants
why.
it.
I have Ethereum, but for one sole purpose, and that is an online game I play. And you need Ethereum to buy the NFTs. But it's very prevalent right now in the market that nobody's talking about Ethereum. Nobody wants Ethereum. It's shit.
Yeah, I don't plan on adding much Ethereum unless it goes down to some of the targets that Nick's talked about, which possibly down to $500. If that's still on the cards, maybe I pick up an Ethereum just to say, oh, I have Ethereum. And you're probably going to need it for fees down the road, anyways. But Nick, give us a little background on how you structure your portfolio.
Okay, so it's a bit of a mixture between what you're saying and what Chris is saying, right? So I look at sectors. I have 5 scoped out that I'm interested in, right? So I've got smart contract platforms, supply chain platforms, Oracle-based platforms, metaverse plays, privacy, and security, right? Those are the 5 sectors. So I'm really simplistic. I'm like, okay, 20% of my fiat that I'm going to dump into crypto is going to go into each one of those. Then I'm going to take a look at projects that fit into each of those sections, right? And like you, I want nice round numbers. I want 100,000 of this. I want 200,000 of that. I want 500,000 or 1 million, right? So I have obviously that 20% of my capital allocated, and I take a look at all the projects that are basically sat inside that sector, and then I start allocating. If I want 100,000 of that, let's say Cardano, or if I want to kind of split my smart contracts across things like Polkadot and Cardano or a few others, then I'm because smart contract platforms can also be many different things, right? VeChain is a smart contract platform, but it's also supply chain. So I can move VeChain over to my supply chain bucket, and I can allocate to that separately. Harmony One, for example, could also be down as a smart contract platform as well. So maybe that goes into that bucket and so forth. So I kind of work it out how many coins I want and what I've really allocated my capital of 20% to that particular sector. Now I can, of course, change projects between the sectors if I loosely kind of tag them a different way. But for the most part, it's quite simple in my mind. The hardest part is limiting the amount of projects that you have, right? On my list at the moment, I've got 21. Which is just far too high. Right, it's far too high. So
I don't even know how you'll keep up with 21.
I can't even keep up with it now, right?
We had 46 in the last one.
Yeah, and that was hard. So I've got to make some more cuts. And it's hard to make.
So let me ask you two this question. Chris, you have your own portfolio. Nick, you have your own portfolio. And do you guys have a cheeky portfolio?
Not really, no.
We do and we don't, like, because the business has its own crypto. It does, like, with the pools, with some of the affiliate kickbacks and stuff like that. So we do, but we don't kind of look at it like that. It's not like a full-on Cheeky Cryptos portfolio type scenario.
Who's the riskier one out of the two of you? Just so the community can know that.
I'd say that I probably am. Would you
Chris,
say,
do you
Chris?
agree?
You disagree?
I don't know, because we do kind of look at projects and we only really invest in them if we both give it a nod. Like,
yeah.
So I guess we're both as risky as each other. But yeah, I mean, it's a difficult one, isn't it, to really sort of articulate. But, the fact that we both look at it and we look at things differently. Nick looks at things from a technical analyst sort of viewpoint, and I look at it from a fundamental viewpoint. When you sort of combine those two together, normally you get like a better, more rounded view of the projects. And if we don't both agree, we just agree to move on.
So we've discussed this before inside the Discords on AMAs and things like that. That the two of you And JB, I'm going to include you. I promise. I'm sorry. I want to get their feedback on this because
It's all
the
good.
way,
It's all good.
well, the way that Nick buys in and the way that Chris typically buys in are two different ways, two different styles of structuring and buying into their portfolio at the bottom, where Chris is more of a DCA guy and Nick is buy it all at once. Why do you do DCA? And then Nick, why do you buy how you buy? Like, it would be good for the people to kind of understand why you do that.
Yeah, I think there isn't much that we do that's different to one another, but that is one thing that is different is our approach to how we, I guess, deploy the capital, right? So I'm very much of a viewpoint that if it isn't broken, it doesn't need fixing, right? You don't go fixing something that isn't broken unless it's broken and it needs fixing, right? And we dollar cost averaged into the market. At least I did in the previous bear run, bull run scenario. So it worked really, really well for me. And, you know, I don't do it in the traditional way that many others talk about on YouTube and on the social media platforms. I'm not doing it daily. I'm not doing it weekly. I'm not necessarily doing it monthly either. I'm really just doing it on the days that it all pulls back. So if we see a big significant pullback in the market, then you're normally, you know, eight times out of 10, you'll see a buy alert in the Discord for the Patreon members, right? And that'd be me, you know, putting a little bit of capital into the market. Now, I also sort of have an element of, I start off really small if I believe we're going to go much lower, and it gets bigger the lower we go. So the size of capital that I deploy gets bigger the lower the prices go in a bear market, until we see that reversal.
When do you say enough is enough, though? Like, as far as adding capital, right? Like, so say you start at 30 cents on Cardano, right? And that thing just goes down to, say, 22 cents.
Yeah.
When do you say that I've bought enough? Do you set a limit, a monetary limit or a coin limit? Like, how do you set that?
I might flicker between different projects to keep my percentages in a good sort of place. But I'm in a very unique position in the respect that, you know, like, most people work a 9 to 5, right? And they get paid once a month and they have all their bills come out. Like, I don't have a lot of bills. Like, I have a mortgage. But, like, you know, we bought our cars outright cash, you know, with our crypto.com card back in the summer, right? Got a nice little healthy amount of crow. When it got to $1, I sold it. So I got like $7,000 off my car. But, like, you know, like, I don't get that monthly payment. I might get money today. I might get money tomorrow. I might get, you know what I mean? So I'm in a slightly different position, more unique position to many people that probably watch the channel. So I don't really look at like how much I can deploy. I'm not just in crypto either. You know, I'm invested in other sectors as well.
Nick?
Yeah. So the original question, right, was why do I just kind of deploy all in one go, right? So it's time for me, right? Essentially doing X amount of videos in a day and doing X amount of charts or whatever it is in Discord, AMAs in Discord, and just having a young family as well, right? Everyone kind of demands time. So for me, it's much easier to not really worry about seeing the dips and dollar cost averaging during those times, but actually just scope out an approximate area, like a zone, if you will, to be deploying fiat and back into the market. And obviously doing what I do, I'm also, as Chris says, right, in a privileged position because I look at the charts every day. And as such, I get a good idea as to where I should deploy that fiat, and I can deploy it on the days that I feel, you know, that is a, you know, that time has come. So unlike a lot of regular people who have those, I say regular people, that's an awful way of saying it, but people who have 9 to 5 jobs, right, they're going to struggle to do that. Regular jobs, yeah,
Regular jobs.
it's going to be hard to watch those charts and hard to kind of get those. So it's not a strategy for everyone. It's definitely not one that I would advise. It's why I say dollar cost averaging is the way to go. But for me, that just wouldn't work. I just haven't got that time to be always like, you know, going into one of these exchanges, deploying fiat, moving money around, buying up, moving to cold storage, yada, yada, yada. And doing that frequently, yeah, it's a pain. So for me, it's much easier to I look at the charts every day. When it looks about right, I'll just deploy it.
And I would say as well, I've done many write-ups on different investment strategies that you can access. If you jump into the Discord, there's links to the Patreon write-ups that I've done on, how to deploy capital into building a portfolio for crypto, right? And that's free to access, by the way.
So JB, you're a 9 to 5er in a sense, 8 to 4, whatever it is. How do you go about approaching your portfolio when you're ready to buy and start buying?
I mean, to start off with, I wouldn't say clueless, but I'm more educated now than what I was to start with. So I was buying because things looked like, oh, that's a nice price. That looks nice and cheap. However, as time progressed, things come up like, let's just take the cheeky crypto stochastic RSI indicator. Now, when that came out, that changed the game for me a little bit. So when you see the different time frames all oversold, it's maybe time to put some money in here, some money in there. Now, yourself, Mike, and me were on the Patreon chat the other night, and Cardano dropped down to 31.51, and I managed to scoop a bag then. Now, if I can do this over time, so the next time it goes down, it's maybe at 28 cents, it's maybe at 24 cents. Now, over time, obviously that's dollar cost averaging. Over time, I'm picking up really good prices, building the bag up. Over time, that price is going to be nice and low. So when we hit the bull run on all these different projects, that's some really good gains there. However, the caveat to that is if I do miss the bottom, then we've got Nick's method to fall back on. We see it bounce, it corrects itself, we can buy more there again. So it's probably a mixture of both, but for me, fundamentally, dollar cost average is definitely my preferred method.
So are you deploying weekly, monthly, or are you checking the chart just to, because look, you work 8 to 4, but you're also very heavily involved in crypto, right? Like I'm talking someone that might check on their crypto portfolio maybe once a week. Like DCAing would probably make a lot of sense, like Nick was saying, that if they can't check the charts like we're checking, that sort of thing. So I didn't know if like how your monthly checks work. Like me, Chris, Nick, we own businesses, so we have cash just coming in every now and then. We could just kind of deploy it type deal, where I think the majority of the community is most likely probably working at 8 to 4, 9 to 5, maybe understanding how someone that works 8 to 4 deploys capital.
Yeah, definitely. For the people that can't look at the charts often, it's best to dollar cost average. Now, it's not necessarily the best thing to be only Sundays I'm going to check the charts, only Wednesdays I'm going to check the charts. Keep an eye on the Discord, watch the YouTube videos. They are going to help you so much because you'll understand a time when the prices are getting low, when's possibly the best time to be buying. If you can't be in there daily, obviously a lot of people have very busy lifestyles. They've got kids, they've got really busy jobs, they might work night shift and they miss a lot of time. Then set times during the week, be like, this is when I need to pay attention, maybe catch up on some of the videos that have came out. So you'll get a better understanding as to when you should be buying. But I do believe that dollar cost averaging on these kind of timeframes is the best thing to be doing.
Yeah, and I think there's different platforms, isn't there, JB, where you can set that up so it preloads money into the market on said crypto coin or token on each day of each week, for example, like each Friday of each week, and I think those are really useful tools as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, for myself, I have a buy order sitting at 28 cents for Cardano. I don't know when that's going to come in. I don't know if that's going to come in, but if it does, I'm super happy. And if that comes in, I'll set another buy order, let's say 24 cents or 22 cents. So over time, I'm hitting these buy zones, my bag's growing. I'm going to be a happy man.
Super.
Yeah, I'm hoping that Cardano goes lower than 28 cents, just saying, because I am trying to stack up a nice bag. Look, I buy crypto probably the worst out of any human that buys crypto, right? I bug Nick a lot and I just try to follow what they're saying, and I'm trying to deploy as much capital as possible. I was the guy that sold all my crypto at 38,000 because I didn't want to put any more cash out of my savings into crypto. So I've been waiting since we were at like roughly 38K to start buying again. And this was based off of Nick saying, this is the time to either get out or stay in. And I decided to pull my cash out, and I've just been sitting in cash. And now these prices, I'm looking at them like, man, I was willing to buy Cardano at 98 cents, but I'm not willing to buy it at 30 cents. Is something wrong with me? Am I doing something wrong? Go ahead, JB.
I'm going to tell you something that's horrible. I bought Ethereum at $3,000 on the way down.
I could do one even better than that. So when the whole Cadena thing was going on, right? So I bought Cadena at $24, and today Cadena is at 84 cents. And Nick and Chris are currently laughing at me because they're just not fans of the project. And I think it was the first TA I ever requested when I joined the Cheeky community was, Nick, could you please do Cadena? And he was like, yeah, this shit's going down, brother. I don't know what else to tell you.
I think that was exactly how it rolled. I think it was very much like, why would you buy this? Like, what are you doing?
It's you got to be careful with certain influencers, right?
You do.
Like, you got to watch what people are shilling. Just like right now, Solana today is up 12% because certain influencers are pumping up a project that, to me, just can't get their shit together. Like, how many times has Solana been down?
Yeah, look, there's people that have a huge amount of exposure to Solana, and they've just created a pocket of liquidity, haven't they, Nick?
That's what they've done. Yeah, they created a pocket of liquidity so they can get out. This is very much an institutional VC whale move. They rely on liquidity. Without it, they can't get out of their positions, then they can't get into positions. So you do have to be very careful.
Yeah, I think look, most influencers, from what I hear, say you got to be in Bitcoin, you got to be in Ethereum, you got to be in blah, blah, blah. I don't think you got to be in any of those. Personally, I won't have any Bitcoin. I won't have any Ethereum. I want to make money. I don't want to watch it just trickle its way up, right? Like, I'm trying to be involved in projects that got big shit going on. Cardano being one of them. And I know we always talk about Cardano. Well, that's because it's got a lot going on. So I'm going to put a lot of my money into a project that's solid tech, big team, just an amazing project, right? Same thing goes for like Polygon's Matic, XRP, VeChain. These are all, to me, blue chip projects. Chainlink, dude, it's been around since the dawn of time, right? Like, you can't go wrong with Chainlink. You need Chainlink. It's volatile as hell. If you catch the bottom with Chainlink, you're going to make a lot of freaking money. Not financial advice, by the way. Yes, JB.
I wanted to touch on one more, and it was obviously towards gaming. Now, we've all, myself, Chris, and Demonics in the Discord, we had a play about with Decentraland and Sandbox. Now, I had a nice position in Sandbox until we played it, and I was hyper excited to have a shot to see what was going on, and then I was super disappointed because it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. It wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be. So I do think there's a lot of work needs to be done there. I still believe that they have a big future. So did Decentraland. The problem they're going to face is Kopi, and Kopi is really going to do well. It looks amazing. The previews we've seen so far, it looks very good. So I'm excited to see what comes of it.
Yeah, I would say you watch this space with Cornucopias. Like, I think that we may have some updates shortly as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say that Cornucopias is one, game on the Cardano ecosystem. I don't know, they are potentially going to maybe move on to different chains at some point in the future, but they're a Cardano one, right? So when I think about the sector, right, of Metaverse, and I deploy 20% of my capital into that sector and the projects in there, Sandbox is always going to be on my list because that's not a Cardano-based one. And unfortunately, there are a lot of people who believe in the noise that Cardano is a shit chain, it's a ghost chain, there's nothing built on it, hasn't got smart contracts, doesn't have DEXs. And there's a true, I guess, some old historical maxis in the past that still believe in that, right? And they believe that Cardano is going nowhere. They believe Charles Hoskinson's a scammer, right? Essentially, right? And a lot of this stuff that gets circulated around, all of which we know is FUD, and it's just not true at all. So for me, there's still going to be pockets of people investing in these other metaverses on other chains, and so can't just blindly ignore them. So I still think that when I take a look at the Ethereum side, the Polygon side of things as well, because it's obviously going to be scaling it, and Sandbox is kind of above Decentraland for me. So I still think I'll end up backing Sandbox, and I hope there is that they get better at deploying better games and things like that on there, and then more people start building on it. But I could be way off, and it could be wrong, as part of this space, specifically the metaverse space. It's quite a difficult one to navigate.
Yeah, I think it's. Before we started today, I think Chris and I had chatted just a little bit about. We've talked a lot about sectors throughout this podcast today, and I think what's going to be helpful is possibly maybe setting aside, maybe once a week we'll do like a certain sector and then projects within that sector. And we're going to try to do it soon, because I know, the last question I'm going to ask you guys is, I personally think the bear market's going to be soon. That's the bottom-ish. It's getting close. But I think what we're going to do is maybe try to do like some sector things where we discuss some projects that are in there. Chris is really good at projects. So I think it would be really good to like pick a sector, discuss those projects, maybe some that resonate with Chris and resonate with Nick, JB, and myself, and then kind of give you guys our thoughts and opinions on these projects. But guys, wrapping things up, are we close to the bottom? Yes or no? That would be my first question. Chris, are we close to the bottom? Yes or no?
So I'm just going to say, in May, I called June bottom. That came. I said that I didn't think it was going to be the bottom. We've had 4 or 5 new lower lows since June. I'm now saying 4 to 6 months.
Interesting.
I just think the macro landscape is a lot of the reasoning behind that. I kind of feel that people are going to lose their jobs. We haven't felt max pain yet. We haven't seen, retail sell off their crypto to the levels that I expect to see. And I think that's going to play out over the next 4 to 6 months.
So with the Fed rate hikes coming to a slowdown, you still think it's 4 to 6 months, huh?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Interesting. JB, what do you think?
Yeah, definitely nowhere near the bottom. Over here in the UK, you can see things that are going on behind the scenes. Now we have the capital gains tax is changing, so that's dropping from 12,000 to 6,000 next year, and the year after to 3,000. Now that's a way of the government's clawing back money. They gave out so much money during the likes of COVID. They've got a massive deficit they need to fill. So there's going to be a lot of pain still to feel. Globally, the world's a mess. I talk about that quite a lot. I like to look at the global landscape, that there's still so much going on. There's still so much that can happen. I don't see an end anytime soon. And 8 months, 10 months, I still see a long way away. I know that's scary to think about, but what do we have right now to tell us that we're close to the bottom? What positivity do we have right now to say, look, global economics are in a good position? They're just not. And I know that's not a nice thing to say, but I don't see any reason for us to be positive that a change may happen.
Nick, agree or disagree with both of them?
Okay, cool. So I can't time the market, right? I have no idea how long this thing is going to take to play out. That's the truth of the matter. But, I do think that it's going to be longer than March 2023. Now, March 2023 is an interesting point. I want to see how things kind of reacting around there. But essentially, yeah, it could drag out more. Now, we haven't seen any activity that's indicating positivity from the whales or from the retail investors. And we do see bank savings accounts draining as people are trying to survive on savings at the moment. We see credit card debt increasing globally. So eventually that money is going to run out. 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, I don't know. But essentially it will run out. And to your point, JB, around the capital gain tax in the UK, well, now everyone's got an incentive to liquidate for April, right? So there's also that to bear in mind. If they liquidate after the 5th of April, they're going to be losing £3,000 of gains essentially and be taxable on that. So Yeah, it's one of those things that we're going to keep a close eye on. Can't time it, but I do think we've got a while, and the data will tell us approximately when. But yeah, I can't really say more than that.
I think
What's March 2023? Sorry, guys.
So March 2023 is when we had the COVID crash in 2020, right? The pandemic crash back there. So historically, people are going to get this in their heads that March is quite a bad month. And we also saw that it was April of 2021 that we had a huge pullback as well. So the end of March was actually all right. And then April came and we kind of tumbled down. Bitcoin dropped, I think it was like 40-50%. And then we rallied back up into the all-time high from there. So I think there's a time of period that's in the last couple of years that's going to stick with retail. And they're going to think, okay, so maybe jump out the market. And then September was supposed to be bad, but actually now has that moved quite a bit? And we rewrite in data for Bitcoin, and essentially, so it's one of those. Chris.
Yeah, I think that people need to look at it like the biggest opportunity to build generational level wealth that you are ever going to see, like in your lifetime. I really do think that whether it's 6 months or whether it's 10 months or whether it's longer, there's going to be people that generate serious money in this time. Be one of them.
Yeah, JB?
I'm looking forward to seeing what part of Elliott Wave on the macro scale works out here, whether we're on a 5 wave with a small 3 wave correction and then we tank down hard again. That'd be quite interesting to see. I'm looking forward to seeing Nick show us this.
I think so. All three of you super bearish. Appreciate your insight. Love it. I hope it doesn't take that long, but if it does, it does. I've lost a lot of money. I would like my money back. Just saying. Yes, Chris.
I'm gonna say like very bearish. I don't know if
it is bearish.
I don't know if I'm bearish. Like people say this, don't they, all the time? Like, oh, that person's so bearish, and
maybe that came across wrong. I should have rephrased that. But go ahead.
Realist.
Finish your thought.
Yeah, I just think like bearish on price at the moment, yes, but definitely not on cryptocurrency and the blockchain technology. I just want to point that out, right? Because I think people could get like everything a little bit twisted in their minds that,
sure,
when people are saying like, oh, everybody's bearish, and this isn't like me just calling you out on the podcast at all, because I think this is just the terminology.
It's what I'm here for.
It's the terminology that's used in the space, right? Like, and I just think that people might get the wrong idea, particularly with like FTX and everything that's happened there. Like bearish to one person might mean, right, I should probably get out and run a mile. But actually, a lot of the bad behaviors that we've seen in the space, and we had a couple of rug pulls today, actually, in fact, that are being labeled up as failed projects, and they're really not. They're just rug pulls. But like this bad behavior is, it's inherited like in all the different markets, all the different sectors. Traditional finance has it, retail has it, government has it. Like I just want to make that point more than calling anybody out for terminology.
But I'd like to rebuttal just really quickly. Yes, I mainly meant bearish on price.
Yeah.
Okay, and length of time. Bullish on crypto, right? Like
100%.
Bullish on crypto, like where projects are now compared to where they were. It's continuing to get adopted. FTX thing could have honestly sped up regulation. And so then more institutional players may come in. And then when we catch the bottom and we buy all these projects, institutional money comes in and bam, we're off to not Bahamas. We're not going to go to the Bahamas because that's where Sam owns all that stuff, right? So not going to go there. But you guys get my point. So no, not bearish on crypto, bearish more so on pricing, which is perfectly fine because we want to buy bearish times, right? Like that's where I want to buy. I don't want to buy bullish times. I made that mistake and I lost 50 grand. So that wasn't fun, right?
Definitely not.
That was definitely not a fun time. So let's make sure we're very clear on that. Don't buy in the bullish times like Mike did. Don't do that. Okay, JB, go ahead.
Yeah, whilst we are talking about this, it would be wrong for us not to talk about a ledger, MetaMask. The link is in the Discord. Get yourself a ledger. Whilst you're buying a ledger, buy it direct from source. We had an unfortunate member that bought a corrupt ledger from Amazon. There's no two ways about it. The ledger they bought was not from source. don't make the same mistake. Buy it from source. The link is in Discord.
Yeah,
and look,
I was
go
going to
ahead,
say
Chris.
it's in Discord. It's in the link of the video description as well. But yeah, look, you can buy them direct through Amazon as well. But I think the individual may have bought one from somebody else on Amazon. The safest play is just to buy it.
Buy it on Ledger's
direct.
website.
Yeah, exactly.
If that's what you're looking to buy, what's the other one? Nick, Chris?
Trezor.
Or whatever it is. Buy it directly from the site. Who cares about? Don't go to Amazon. Don't be stupid and just buy it from the freaking site.
It's just not worth the risk. You think that, you know, for the sake of saving maybe, you know, $10 or $20, you know, you just lost thousands of dollars worth of cryptocurrency, you know, and this is something that we do talk about this. We always say, you know, get it direct from source, get it direct from the manufacturer. We have a link that, you know, people have used for over a year now, that, you know, people have safely got their crypto on a Ledger device, perfectly safe. So use our link, you know, which takes you direct to the actual source.
And you get to save a little bit of money.
And you supporting the channel as well, because it's an affiliate link. We get a kickback from Ledger, which supports us grow the team.
For those that cannot afford to spend the money on that, look into MetaMask, look into Trust Wallet, right? There are some other options out there, but just with the whole Ledger thing, we just buy it directly from the site. Like, don't even buy it from Amazon. Just go buy it from the site. Anyways, let's wrap up. Final thoughts. We've been going for about an hour now. JB, final thoughts.
First of all, I might steal your spotlight here, Mike, but happy Thanksgiving.
Oh, thank you, mate. Appreciate that.
Listen, obviously, we here in Scotland, we're celebrating it for you, having a couple of beers.
I see that. I see that.
But listen, man, this was very fruitful. We learned a lot. Loved hearing Nick and Chris. Mike, I loved hearing your thoughts on this as well. I really enjoyed this. This was good. I look forward to the next one.
Yeah, I love portfolio days. Obviously, we could all go into in depth a little bit more, but I think getting a general idea of kind of where we are at with our portfolios, and sometimes picking Chris and Nick's brain because they've been through bear markets before, is always good. Yes.
Obviously, I'd like everybody to come back with us as well. Comment in the description. Come back to us on Discord and ask us maybe why we're going for these percentages and why we're not looking at these projects, and then talk to us about your portfolios too.
Yeah, definitely. Chris, final thoughts?
Yeah, look, I'm still pushing out that message, you know, risk off, make sure that your mindset is all about primary focus, keeping your capital safe and secure. So, you know, how can you save money? Secondary to that is, how can I make money, right? Like, this is, you know, the right kind of mindset to have, in my opinion. Obviously, you know, none of us are financial advisors. You know, treat this as educational purposes only. You know, but definitely be in the Discord. You know, we're trying to keep everybody up to date on all the different movements that are happening in the crypto space, and trying to make sure everybody stays as safe as possible.
Nick, leave us with your final thoughts and where you think Bitcoin is going to bottom.
Well, I think it's going to bottom. That's a difficult question. I changed all the lights to red as blood has been spilt, right? And there's more to flow into the streets yet. So a little bit of puddle at the moment. It's all I really consider it. So yeah, we've got a way to go. I think. I think the next pit stop's going to be somewhere in that $13,000 level. Then we bounce up. That's kind of where my mind is at the moment. I think it's a big W, X, Y, X, Z, not to be mistaken as an impulsive structure to the downside, but no doubt some people will claim that it is. The way that I see it, it's just W, X, Y, X, Z, and we should be going down probably 9.5, maybe a little bit lower. There could be a wick down lower than that by the end.
Juicy. That could be juicy.
So there'll be loads of blood in the street, right? Loads of retailers who will be selling off their crypto assets for various different reasons. And that is the opportunity because there's always a buyer, there's always a seller, and there's always a winner, there's always a loser.
And we're looking to be winners here at the Cheeky Crypto Podcast and Cheeky Crypto community. We do nothing but win, win, win. No, I'm not even going to go there. Anyways, thank you guys so much for listening in. Make sure you smash that like and subscribe button, and we will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.